Hello, everyone, and welcome to this virtual demo session, how to proactively identify missing credits, invoices, missed postings, and duplicates. This demo session is brought to you by IOFM and is sponsored by statementmatching.com. I have just a few housekeeping notes to go over before we get started. If you have any technical questions or issues, please use the chat box and a member of the IOFM team will respond to you right away. If you have any issues with audio, please click to make sure your computer speakers are on. Of course, most importantly, we encourage you to ask questions throughout this product demonstration. To do so, simply type your questions into the chat box and hit send to submit them to me. I will have our presenter respond to your questions at the conclusion of his product demonstration. With the do's and don'ts out of the way, it's my pleasure to introduce Daniel Kimpton, Director of Sales for Statement Matching. He's going to share with you his company's product. Daniel, welcome.
Hello, Mark. How are you?
Doing well. Love the sun shining over England.
Yeah, that's it. It's a rare occasion that you get the sun shining in England in April. But it is today.
Well, it looks great.
Right. Let me share my screen. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Daniel Kimpton, and I work for a company called Statement Matching. So I'm not going to do any slides today. I'm not going to do any PowerPoint to bore you to death with that. I'm just going to use the live system, which I'm logged into now, and I'm going to explain how the application works. So I'm going to explain how we get data in from your ERP system, how we get statements in here, and then I'm going to show you the end-to-end process from a user's perspective. And yeah, I'd love to get your questions, and I can really answer any questions that any of you have got at the end. So I'm going to leave a nice amount of time at the end for questions. Now, I'll start by saying what the objective of this application is. So why have we got lots of customers using it? So the whole idea is to automate the reconciliation of your supplier statements. And it doesn't matter what format that you get the statements. They could be in Excel, they could be PDF, or they could be paper. We can get them into the system. It will reconcile the statement, and it will tell you what's matched, what's missing. It will tell you if you've got any data errors. You know, you put invoices in, inaccurately on your ERP system. And I'm going to tell you where you've got invoices that are on the ledger, not on the statement. So this is where your missed postings and duplicates could be. And I'm also going to tell you where documents are missing. So you might have missing invoices and missing credits, which you're going to want to follow up to make sure that your liabilities are accurate and that you're going to pay suppliers on time. I'm going to show you all of that as part of the demo today. So I'll start by explaining how it works. So this is a cloud-based system. It's hosted on Azure. So depending on where you are in the world, we can spin up a statement matching system for customers in an Azure data center based on their location. And each customer gets their own instance of the application as well. So it's single tenant and it's dedicated to each customer. And then for your ERP system, we've got lots of customers on lots of different ERP systems. So the big ones like SAP, Oracle, and PeopleSoft and Lawson, Dynamics, and many different ERP systems, even kind of bespoke and really old systems. Like we've got a customer on AS400, what I came across the other day, and you need to be quite old to remember what AS400s are, but I am quite old. So what we expect to get from your ERP system when we set you up is basically an initial data extract. So the initial data extract contains all of your open invoices, so everything that's not paid, and then the last 6 months of paid invoices. And that's what we start off with as a base data set. And then what happens is you will get your IT department to basically set up a scheduled task, which happens overnight. And then every day we get a new file from you. So we basically get a file of new invoices from the previous day, and any invoices where something's changed, like the status might have changed, for example. So it's just a Delta file, and that will come out of your ERP system. It will get automatically sent to statement matching. So you won't see this if, you know, in finance, it's just a background process that just happens. And then the really cool thing about getting data every day is any statements that are in the system already, they get re-reconciled automatically, and it updates all of the statuses. So it's basically keeps working the statements for you, which is really cool. And if lots of our customers, as well as their ERP system, they also have add-on systems. So there's lots of them out there where you might have invoices go in there first, like Ariba or Cooper. You know, there's lots of different ones. You might have invoices going in there first before they hit the ERP. So for those customers, we are also taking data from those sources. So from the ERP as well as the add-ons, because if I'm going to do a reconciliation, I want to make sure I've got a full data set. So hopefully that's clear on a data perspective. Now, the second part of it is obviously I need to get the statements into the system. Now, if you're like my other customers, typically I see the biggest volume that we get is PDF. So the suppliers will be sending you PDF statements as email attachments, and they don't have to be in any given format. They're whatever the supplier gives you. And all you have to do is basically the ones that you want to reconcile is just forward them on to an email address that I give you. And that's it. You're just forwarding it. And what we do as part of the service is we'll capture the data, we'll extract the data from the PDF. We either use the data layer if there is one, or we use OCR. We've got different technologies that we use to do it, but we've been doing this for a long time. It works, and the data will get uploaded to statement matching within 24 hours. So it's like a 24-hour turnaround time with PDF statements. Now, Excel, again, suppliers that send you statements in Excel will be in many different formats, and they don't have to be predetermined or anything. We just take what the supplier gives you. And again, all you have to do is forward them to the email address that you send the PDF statements to, and the data will be extracted from the Excel automatically and imported into statement matching, which is a lot better than, you know, when you're doing a manual rec. So yeah, you receive the statements and you forward them on, and then they will appear in statement matching. Now, if any of you are getting statements through the post, which we still do get some, you can just scan them to email. So you can scan them as a PDF, or you can scan them as a TIFF. And again, we'll extract the data, and then they'll be on statement matching ready for you. Now, what the system does, so I'll get into the demo now, is it reconciles the statement and it gives each one an overall status. So underneath statement header on here, I'm going to explain what these statuses are, but it gives an overall status for the statement, and then it gives a status for each line on the statement. So you'll see below, I've got some where the invoice dates are different, invoice numbers are wrong, you know, you might have keyed them in, or it might be an OCR problem. This one's a big problem. Invoices and credits are the wrong way round. So the supplier has sent you a credit, but you've put it on your system as an invoice. And then I've got, you know, I'm going to tell you if the currencies are different and the amounts are wrong. So I'll explain what the statuses mean. So the first one, fully matched. That means that all of the invoices on the statement are on your ERP system and everything matches perfectly, which is what we all want. Doesn't always happen, but that's the perfect world. So what our customers do with these is two things. They will send a copy to the supplier, you know, because if you send this to the supplier, you can say, I've reconciled your statement. These documents are matched. We can give them the due dates for payment. If any of them are paid, there'll be a check-in number on there. And in AR, on the supplier side, this is perfect. This is what they would normally be sending you emails about or calling you to find out. So you can give them all the invoice status information. Now, for those of you who use purchase orders and you're doing three-way match, you know, you'll obviously be doing goods receipts. Now, the other significance of fully matched, we've got many customers where this has been a big driver for them to get as many statements into fully matched status as possible, because What that means is the supplier's sent you a statement, you've got all the invoices, everything's right. It also means that you've got no unpaid invoices on the ledger for that vendor that are dated before the statement. So if you think about it, when you're keeping on top of your GRIR or GRNI, depending on what system you use, if you have got any goods receipts that have not been invoiced and the posting date is prior to the statement date, then you could go and clear them down and return it to profit. And we've had some very big customers, you know, with very big aged GRNI balances, and they've really got those balances down by getting statements from suppliers and then getting them into the fully matched status. So I'm going to move them down, fully matched with data mismatches. So that means that you've got all of the invoices, but there are differences. So this is where the invoice dates are different, invoice numbers are different. So you've matched it, you've got the document, but you've done something incorrectly, or maybe it's the supplier. They could have done something incorrectly, but you would want to go and investigate them. And then thirdly, unpaid items missing on statement. So that means you've got invoices that are on the ledger, unpaid, but they're not showing on the supplier's statement. So if the supplier's not chasing you for it, but it's on their account, unpaid, then you know, it could be a misposting. It could be posted to the wrong vendor account. This happens a lot when you've got multiple accounts for the same vendor on your ERP. And you also see a lot of duplicates this way as well. And then lastly, this is really everyone's, you know, main priority in general, is incomplete matching. Means that you've got invoices that are on the statement, but they're not on your ERP system. So missing invoices, missing credits. Right, so I'll show you an example now, and we'll actually move through some of the screen. So there's different ways to select your statements. So you might want to work on them in a sequence. Now, missing credits is a very important error type, you know, because of its treatment. You want to make sure that you keep on top of your missing credits. So you can actually run a report which just shows you the statements where you've got missing credits. And then I'm going to show you how we can then go ahead and request the missing credit from the supplier. So it basically gives me a list, and you can see it sorts them by value, puts the biggest credit at the top. And then from here, we can drill into the detail. So this next screen is what the reconciliation looks like. Helps if I press the button, of course. Right, so this is the reconciliation. So it's really simple. I've got the supplier statement data on the left, and then I've got your ERP data on the right. And you can see, you know, this is not bad. I've got most of the invoices are matched, but halfway down, I've got a credit that's missing. And at the bottom, I've got an invoice that's missing. So what my customers would want to do here is actually contact the supplier to request the missing documents. Now, there's different options. You can email the supplier from statement matching. So we've got this email vendor function. The email from address would be one of your email addresses. The email to, part of the data that we get from your ERP system is the email address of the vendor from the supplier record. So that would be plumbed in here. And then subject and message are up to you. Now, you can send a full report to the supplier, and that would show what's matched and what's missing, show everything. Or you could just send them a report which shows the issues. So that's where I've got the, you know, the missing invoice, missing credit. So I won't email myself. I'll download it from the menu. So if you notice, you can download the same type of reports from the menu. You can also output it to Excel if you want. Now, some customers like Excel because we're all addicted to Excel because we're in finance. And I know people like to kind of color code it and, you know, put things in different sequence. And so Excel is editable, but this PDF report that I'm showing you is kind of fixed. So I'll show you what this looks like. But this is what we would send to the supplier. Right, hopefully you'll see a PDF now. Now, this gets personalized. So this would be your logo in the top left there. Obviously your details on this section. Now, if you look on the statement on the right, I'm telling the supplier, so the documents that are missing, I'm being clear with the supplier that they need to send me a copy. So send a copy to this email address. So we default some text in. Now, I know the status of the documents on your ERP system. So I'm going to share those with the supplier. So I've got some that are ready to pay, and I've got due date for payment. I've got some that are in process. Now, I'm using in process as like a catch-all on my demo system. In process could be, it could be in error, it could be on a workflow, it could be posted with a payment block, but I don't want to confuse suppliers, so I'm kind of using a nice generic, I've got it, it's in process. You can see I've got one that's paid as well, so there's a clearing date and also a check-in number. But this is great for the supplier. They're going to get this, and it basically just tells them everything that they would normally be sending you a query about. So yeah, that's what the report looks like in PDF. And what I wanted to show you was the search function, because this is typically how a shared service center would sort of work the statements. Because typically in a shared service center, you would have a bunch of people in accounts payable, and they might be responsible for certain suppliers. So they might be associated with certain vendors, or you might split them based on company code and vendor. If you work by country, it would be certain company codes, and it might be an alpha split on the supplier. But you can do all of that from this search page. And we've got this concept called critical suppliers as well. So you can mark suppliers up as critical on statement matching. So these would be your ones which are high volume, high value, maybe early payment programs, or they're just suppliers that are really important and you must pay them on time. Otherwise, they'll put you on stop. So you can sort of say whether you want to look at criticals, because I might be a more senior member of staff that deals with them, for example. But yeah, you can select statuses as well. So I might not be interested in fully matched. There's no exceptions to look at. So I'll untick that. And then if I hit search, it's basically going to give me a list. And you can see I've got a list of statements. I can sort them by, statement day, or I can sort them by statement value, work on the big ones first, for example. But I'm going to show you one of these ones. So it's the second from bottom, fully matched with data mismatches. So it's quite a big statement, this one. There's just under $1 million worth of invoices on here. Now, I must apologize as well, because I had a demo with someone in Europe just before, and I forgot to change my date back to US format. So apologies for any of you that have noticed that. Poor planning. So again, we're on this screen. Everything looks all right on the front page. Everything's matched, but there's actually 19 pages worth of transactions on here. So what you do with these big ones is actually put a filter on. So you put a filter on to just show the documents where there's a problem. And if you look on the first line, I've got an invoice for 105.78, and it's on your ERP system on the right-hand side with an extra 1 in front. So that's a $1,000 problem, that one. But you would want to go and reverse the document, put a new one on for the correct amount. Now the second one, this is your biggest problem. So this is a credit on the statement, and it's on your ERP system as an invoice. So it's a credit and an invoice from the wrong way around. Again, you would want to go and fix that. And then I've got some where the dates are different and the amounts are wrong. But if you imagine the process, I explained earlier, if this is an Excel statement, you would be forwarding this to statement matching to an email address. It would get automatically uploaded. And then you come in here, you put a filter on for all errors, and then job done. Whereas doing that manually would be a much more time-consuming task. So, and remember, if you fix them on your ERP system, we will get the changes in the daily file that we get, and all of these items would go green. They would turn matched. Now, if you don't fix them, obviously they'll stay in error, and hopefully you'll fix them next time. So that's an example where you've got data mismatches. Actually, do you know what? On my excitement as well, on the one that I showed you first, I forgot to show you a key thing. I'm just going to go back to it. This is the one where we had the missing credit and missing invoice, because I forgot to say that a couple of things on here. What we encourage you to do when we do training is actually add notes in the system. Because if you add a note on the statement line to say that I've requested this credit from the supplier, let's say next month you get another statement from the supplier and the credit is still missing, you'll be able to see the notes that you added the previous month. And if I was a proper user, I would have noticed that this icon is blue, which means there are notes in here. So if I look at the notes, you can see, you know, I've requested actually a third time because I've done it again earlier. So this is really important to note that, yeah, it's best to add notes in the system. The other thing that we got that's really cool is we got this user status, which is something that you define, and I've got different things in here. So if I'm an accounts payable user and one of the vendors always got missing invoices, or they've always got some sort of issue, I might mark them up as a problem vendor, you know, for my manager to go and look at another day, because, you know, why is it? Why has the vendor always got missing invoices? Maybe they're sending them, you know, directly to site, or they're sending them to the wrong email address. But, you know, rather than fix the same error every month, why don't we actually investigate the root cause? So kind of people use statement matching to actually feed back into their continuous improvement process. And you'll see at the bottom, I've got one for requested copy, which is what I did in that example. And then what I should have mentioned on the search page, because this is a really good feature, is some of my customers, when they do a rec, they reconcile the statement, you know, when it comes in, they'll fix errors, request missing documents and so on. And then they'll basically want to follow it up again at month end to make sure that any documents have been sent, you know, especially if it's a big supplier. So what you can do is actually filter it by user status. So I want to basically see all of the statements where I've requested a copy. And then if I hit search, I can see the first one I'm happy with because it's fully matched now. And that means the supplier must have sent the credit and it's come into your ERP system, and then it's come into statement matching. And now I'm saying the statement's fully matched, but I've still got two that are incomplete, which means the supplier's ignored me. So they've not sent my missing credit. So I'm going to send them a stronger message this time. Right, anyway, I want to show you an example where you've got invoices that are on the ledger, but they're not on the statement. So we call them unpaid items missing on statement. Right, so we're back on here. Everything on the statement is matched, so I'm happy. And then we've got a section at the bottom, look, called unmatched. Now, for this vendor, I've got one entry. So this is an open invoice on the vendor's account for 286.80, and it's dated February. Now, it looks like a regular amount that I get from this supplier. I've got one in March for the same, and I've got another one in April. So if this is the Feb invoice, you know, it's not on the supplier's statement, so I'm going to guess that that would be a duplicate of the Feb invoice. But I've caught it in time, you know, because it's unpaid. So I'm going to now go and reverse it before it becomes a big problem. And actually I end up paying a duplicate, which I've got to spend lots of time recovering. So it's a good example, that one. Now, that's kind of what I tend to show for the demo. I don't look at a fully matched one because there's not a lot to see, you know, when it's fully matched, but I'm hoping that that's giving you a good overview of kind of how it works and what it's all about. I wanted to touch on reporting quickly, and then we'll get into questions. Now, from a reporting perspective, you saw earlier I ran a missing credits report. So that's a list of statements where I've got missing credits, and I've got the same style of report for the other types of error. So I've got missing invoices, or show me the statements where I've got invoices and credits the wrong way around, because some of our customers like to work on them in a sequence because some problems are bigger than others. And then I've got, you know, some high level reports like, you know, number of statements received, you know, value, but, you know, we can do that by month and how many suppliers have sent us statements. I've also got this critical supplier report, which a lot of companies use. You know, they'll have a list of suppliers which are critical, and the manager wants to know every month, have my critical suppliers sent me a statement this month? So you can see there's a current statement date in the second from last column. And as a manager, I want to make sure at the end of the month, I've got a statement from each of these suppliers, and I want to see the status is set to complete, because that means a user's finished working on it. So this is quite a useful report. And all of these reports are searchable. So if you run a big shared service center and you split by region, you can search the reports. You can look at everything, or you can just drill down and look at it based on your organization. Yeah, and that brings me to the end of the demo. And normally, you know, if it was a one-to-one demo, which I'm happy to do, obviously, with anyone who's on here that's interested, you know, I'm really open. You know, we share pricing at the end of the demos. I always do. And I also want to let you know as well, which is something to think about, is, you know, seeing a demo is great, but my demo is always going to work because it's a demo system. So what we offer customers the opportunity to do is actually do a proof of concept. You don't need IT. Anyone in accounts payable will have access to extract the data we need for a proof of concept. And how it works is you would give me data in Excel for 10 suppliers. So pick 10 of your biggest suppliers and give me the ERP data in Excel. Give me the statements, and then we would have a system up and running within a week. So it's about a week to turn it around. And then we set up a training session, and that takes about an hour and a half, and we go through each of the 10 reconciliations that you've given us. We'll explain what's happened, and we'll explain what the options are, how you would follow up the exceptions, and so on. And then we let you loose on it. So we give you full access. And then we like to have like a follow-up call, maybe no more than 3 days after that initial training session, give you a chance to use it. And while it's still fresh, we can kind of, you know, show you parts of the system you'll appreciate more when you've used it, give you more training if you need it, and also answer kind of any kind of issues that you've got coming up. And we kind of do that, you know, we do that till you're happy, really. The idea of it is for you to do your due diligence, make sure it works for you. And then if you don't like it, we can delete it. Or, you know, what most customers do is they have to go off and go on their long-winded approval processes to, you know, actually become a customer at the end, because that, you know, that always takes time when you're in accounts payable, because I always find you're at the back of the queue as far as getting any attention for budget or IT resource. So yeah, anyway, enough of me talking now. Obviously looking forward to questions, but yeah, thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for joining as well. So I'll hand back over to Mark now for questions. But yeah, thank you.
Sounds great, Daniel. We're going to enter the Q&A portion of this product demonstration. If you haven't already submitted your question for Daniel, or if you've thought of another question for Daniel, use the chat tool on your screen to submit them to me now. Daniel, we have lots of questions, so let's see how many of them we can get to. Our first question is from Sasha. She wants to know, can you connect to multiple ERPs to the same platform so we can check for duplicates across those ERPs?
We can, yeah. So one of the founding customers of ours, we actually, it's quite an interesting story where it came from. We actually developed this because we've been doing invoice automation projects with customers for years, since 2005. And loads of those customers kept asking us for a solution to do statement reconciliation. Now, one of the first one that we kind of used as a beta had 5 ERP systems. 5. From day one, it had to work with multiple ERP systems, multiple add-ons. The matching works cross-system, cross-company, and always has done. Take that, Sasha. You just have 2. Shannon wants to know if you can integrate with Workday. Workday, yes, we do have customers on Workday, yeah. Susan wants to know if you can connect to Epicor Profit 21. Epicor, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I've got any Epicor customers, but from a... Can I just say one thing about you could, absolutely is it doesn't really matter what your ERP system is, because it's the same data that I need, and it's really simple data. It's a few invoice header fields and a bit of data from your supplier records. You know, like I said in my presentation, we've had customers on old green screen like mainframes that have managed to get the data we need. It's generally not a problem. But yeah, Workday, yes. Epicor, off the top of my head, I can't think of a customer on Epicor, but we probably. And just because Daniel can integrate with those green screens, by all means, doesn't mean you should hang on to them. Hey, yeah, but they work. They work. You know? Oh, no, you're leading them astray now. Tyler wants to know if an invoice is in the system as INV space 123, but on a statement it's INV hyphen 123. Will that match? So it depends. We can strip out special characters if you ask us to, because some customers' ERP systems don't allow them to enter special characters. and therefore they don't want special characters being imported into the system on the statement. So it can work like that. And we can also, if it's always a problem for a certain supplier, like there's always special characters on the statement and you never put them in on your ERP system, you can set your own matching logic for that supplier. So the matching works the same globally across all suppliers, but on a supplier level, you can actually set your own matching logic to get around anything. So it's very flexible.
Very clever. Steve writes, most of our suppliers don't send statements proactively. Who requests the statements? Is there a mechanism for automated follow-up? Is any of this housed within your solution?
No, we shied away from doing any mass emailing from statement matching out to suppliers to request statements. And the reason being, I don't know about you, but I've always been paranoid about receiving emails from unknown sources that I have no idea who they are and clicking links. And I certainly don't do it now. I think we're all the same. So sending an email out from statement matching to say, you know, send me a statement or do this, do that, we don't think is a great idea. So basically the customers drive that process. And all of my customers, you know, because if they've not been reconciling statements manually, you know, often suppliers stop sending them because it's pointless. So they do a big comms exercise when they take statement matching on to tell suppliers, look, send me your statement because I'm going to reconcile it. I'm going to share the results, and suppliers will send you them because there's a massive benefit for them. But we don't do it on statement matching. It's definitely up to the customer.
Yvonne wants to know how it would work if she receives 3 different statements from the same supplier for her 3 different sites.
Yeah, that's very common. So you would send the 3 statements to us. So you don't need, I mean, you could combine them if you want into one statement, but you don't have to. What you would do is you would send the 3 individual statements. They would come into statement matching, and then you basically you check the 3 boxes and then click merge, and it will merge them for you.
Lisa wants to know, how does your solution match the statement to the correct vendor?
So for the vendor, now when we're putting the statement in, if it's an Excel statement, for example, if you think about what's in the Excel is invoice numbers, dates, and amounts. And the data that I've got in statement matching, you know, from your ERP system is basically the same data. You know, you might not have all of the documents that are on the statement, but you will have some. And we work out, based on the data on the statement, we work out who the vendor is, because we look it up against the data in statement matching and we send the vendor number through. Now, the other complexity to that is on many occasions, customers will have multiple accounts for the same vendor on their ERP system. I would say procurement are out of control. So on statement matching, you can actually link suppliers together. So if you've got 10 accounts on your ERP system for Staples, you basically put them together on statement matching. And then if you get a statement from Staples, it will match the statement against all of the linked accounts.
Clever.
Which is with customers as well. Yeah.
Barbara wants to know, what volume of statements do you need to receive per month to make this solution cost effective?
There's no real kind of, I've not got an answer for that one, to be honest, because I've got some customers who do a handful of statements a month, but then they do a load, at each quarter, but they only do it ad hoc. And then I've got customers where we're doing like 2,000 statements a month, you know, that every statement they receive, they send to statement matching. So it really depends on the business. The business case for this is typically not reducing the size of teams. It's typically about being able to actually reconcile anywhere near the volume of statements that you want to, because people are just too busy to do statements, so they get forgotten. So it's about actually being able to do more than you can now and improving your controls. So there's not really a sort of a set number of statements that would be like a floor to make it pay.
And a related question from Linda. She writes that her suppliers only send statements when there are past due balances. Would this still make sense for her?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's a bit like reconciling a statement when the suppliers put you on stop. It's kind of too late at that point. You know, really, that's the whole reason. The whole reason people buy this is because they should be doing it proactively. And again, it's about comms. They need to tell their suppliers to send a statement of account, you know, every month and do it promptly and tell them why. Tell them you're going to reconcile it and you're going to share the results because you want to pay them on time.
Yeah. Renee writes, SAP has a parked document function. Can those invoices be brought in to match to the statement?
Yeah, so in SAP, you've got parked, you've got held, you've got posted blocked. All of the statuses in SAP, we would have all of them. You know, same as other systems where you've got add-ons and you might reject invoices. We can take all of those in so that they're available for reconciliation. So yeah, whatever the status of the documents are, whether it's SAP or any other ERP system, we would have them all.
Yeah, Bridget writes, is this system compatible with a netting process? Can you set netting specifications from this tool?
I'm not sure. We'd probably have to dive. I'm not sure about netting. I'm not sure what that.
Laura, you're going to have a follow-up call from Daniel.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one offline because I'm not. I'd have to sort of qualify the question a bit more, and I know we've only got limited time.
Laura wants to know more about your flagged critical vendors. She writes, is there a way to use an upload to flag critical vendors, or can this be part of the initial migration of vendor master data? We have more than 6,000 suppliers, she writes, and I'd hate to have my team spend that time flagging them manually.
Yeah, well, no, that's a very good idea, having a and the answer is yes. So you can flag suppliers manually one by one, but nobody wants to do that. What you do is you put them in Excel, and then you basically upload the Excel, and it puts the flag on for you. And because critical suppliers will change, not necessarily month to month, but you know, ones will come on, ones will drop off. So you just keep them in Excel, upload it, and then it maintains it for you.
How often are you finding folks are updating that list, Daniel? Are they doing that on a quarterly basis or yearly, or?
Yeah, some quarterly, and I've got some who change their critical suppliers monthly.
Do they really?
Yeah, and I've got many customers who don't have any suppliers flagged as critical. You know, every supplier to them, if they get a statement, they reconcile it, and they flag any as critical.
I see.
Yeah.
Yvonne wants to know, is there a maximum number of pages per statement for this system to match?
No, we've done some serious. I don't know whether customers have done any statements that are anywhere near as big as the ones that we use when we're doing our testing cycles. So we like thousands upon thousands of lines on a single statement, and it works.
Yulia writes, how often should statements be reviewed for missing credits? What's your recommendation on best practice?
Well, I think most customers want to do a monthly cycle, you know, regardless of what type of error, but they want to reconcile each of their suppliers, or certainly their criticals. They want to do it once a month to keep on top of it. Now, for some of the bigger suppliers where you've got transactions and things coming in every day and changing every day, you know, some customers will reconcile it today and they'll check back in a week's time. Right, what's happened now? What's come in? What's still missing? And they might check it, you know, and then do another check before month end. It really varies, but at least once a month is the typical.
Jennifer writes, what's your success rate with receiving invoices? It can be difficult for us to get statements. Does the system also send emails to suppliers asking for statements?
No, we don't do any emailing out. Well, you saw me in the demo. I can email a reconciliation to a supplier. That's really the only emailing that I'm going to do. You can't do mass emails out to suppliers from statement matching, because, you know, we think that should be driven from the customer, because the supplier has no idea who statement matching are. And yeah. They
think you're just some sketchy vendor from a faraway country.
I mean, I just don't click on anything. Even when I get an email from like a bank who I bank with, you know, I still won't do it. You know, I'll go in and log into my bank, you know, just the messages in there. You know, everyone's super paranoid about clicking on things, emails from people that they don't.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I won't click on my in-laws' emails, but that's a different story. Laura's wondering if instead of bumping up invoices against an ERP, if you can bump them up against her AP automation software, and if so, have you done this?
Well, so when we're talking about invoices, are we talking about because I mentioned that we do an invoice automation service as well as statements, so that's what we're about.
I presume that's what she's talking about.
We do about 5 million or so invoices we did last year.
Wow.
In customers' ERP system. So we receive invoices from the suppliers. 98% of the volume is via email. We do electronic as well, and we manage all of that. And then we deliver the invoice data into customers' ERP systems or their add-ons, which is very common, and we deliver it within 24 hours.
Lisa wants to know, is there a way to identify invoices in the ERP that we never get statements for, so we could reach out to the supplier?
No is the answer to that question. Simple no.
That's okay. We've done it. We've drained the swamp, Daniel, as we say.
Have we?
Here.
Good.
And I have to say, you're getting Angeline and Susan are ready to go here. So among others,
I'm ready.
So expertly done. Daniel, really appreciate you doing an excellent demonstration. Thank all of you for taking time out of your busy days to join us, but don't go anywhere just yet, because I have the obligatory housekeeping notes that I need to read to you. That's all the time we have for this product demonstration. We hope to see you in our other kickoff meetings, our other demo sessions and workshops throughout the week. Thank you again to Daniel Kimpton for an excellent product demonstration. And this session was brought to you by IOFM, and it was sponsored by Statement Matching. Thank you, everyone. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.